All right, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Beyond the Letter. Appreciate everybody being in the house. We got a special episode today in the house. We got Aaron on the table. We got Will in the house.
What's good?
Sitting in that traffic to come hang out.
Hour drive every time. Commitment, baby.
Hour drive.
One way, 1 hour.
Dude, there we go. See? Man, aren't we blessed? And then we got Fuego.
Y'all through summit.
On Beyond the Letter. Have you been on Beyond the Letter before? Or just Beyond I Do?
Just Beyond I Do.
Oh.
So this is a privilege.
Making moves, bro.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Boy, nervous on this Beyond the Letter, bro. I'm good with marriage. When you got all these theologians up here.
Adam 22 gonna hop in.
What do you think about Donald Trump wearing What do you think about this recent election?
Is that why you wore the glasses for this one?
Yeah, talk us.
Intelligent.
Look, you know what I mean? Educated.
If he's clipped, he could, it's like, well, I hate what the guy has to say, but at least he looks good. He looks smart.
You look great, dog. You look real
You never
good.
worn glasses before, Will?
I wear glasses, though. I just
wear
wear contacts.
Oh.
Mine's are pretty bad. It's like -5.
Yeah, mine's terrible,
Yeah, I'm
too.
really bad.
Yeah, I could barely see that.
It's pretty bad.
My hand in front of my face.
Yeah.
I don't have my contacts in.
Sammy Rod just jumped in.
Sammy Rod came in too. He's
whole-
hanging. Look at that, dude. We got a whole crew in tonight.
Whole gang.
Here for a special day.
Yeah.
We need a. We don't have an extra camera to point over there, huh? On that sofa, do we? Alex is like, I could figure it out. He does have another. There's like hidden cameras everywhere. We just got to point them. Yeah, here we go. He found one. He found one. Look. They already see if you're watching on YouTube. Look, they're cut in now.
Let's go.
You're in the shot, dog. You and Nancy, dog.
Do we got an extra mic? We got.
Everybody's all dressed
Hey,
nice.
but we have extra mic plugs, don't we? No, in the system. Yeah, we had a handheld at one point. The handheld for the travel kit. We have the travel kit, but I don't know. Do we have any more plugs in that audio board right there, Jermaine? No. Doesn't look like it. We need a bigger board. Yeah. We're going to start those donations to Beyond the Letter soon to help us expand.
Tithing offering.
Now that we hit a
At the end of every
milestone,
episode.
we're going to have some donate links for sure. Help us continue to spread the word, you know what I'm saying? So and then we have the rest of the team in here. We got Jermaine and Nancy and Alize and Gabriel. And so I encourage you, if you're listening on audio, continue to listen on audio, but when you get a minute, go jump over to our YouTube channel. Just type in Beyond the Letter, because today is a special episode. We'll do this at first, and we'll jump into whatever else we're going to jump into normally on Beyond the Letter, which is not pre-planned or set up. But
People
today,
be asking me all the time. They're like, how do y'all plan? I was like, look, man, we just talk.
Yeah.
I never know what Adam's
stay
gonna.
ready.
Stay ready, bro.
Yeah.
In and out of season.
Blah, blah, he just come out, man. Come out, dude. I'll literally be walking through the sanctuary and just be like, oh, man, I could probably bring this up to Will. He'd
Probably go in.
Yeah, he'd probably go in on this one. But today is special because we had got something in the mail. So if you're watching on YouTube, we got something from YouTube.
Let's go.
Which is our 100,000 subscriber.
Hey.
Let's go. Let's go.
Come on, man. Crazy.
And so we're going to open it here live on the podcast, because not only has it been a team effort, but we also thank everybody who's part of the family of Beyond the Letter, who listen all over. Over at your campus in the North, Fuego, I met someone who had discovered us on his Spotify recommended.
Yeah.
He didn't know we were friends. His girlfriend goes to your church.
Yeah.
And then when we announced our merger together, he was like, oh my gosh, I've been listening to that guy for a month.
It's that fangirling a little bit.
Yeah.
No, it's
But we love him.
messing with
We love, and then he was there this past Sunday night.
Yeah.
And so super dope that the podcast has reached so many people. He was tripping out. He was like, I think it was evenings or something like that. And works by himself. And so he was like, I've been looking for Christian content that isn't just sermons.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what we set out to do. So here we go. I got the knife, and then we'll go deeper. We talk about whatever else, but I'll go ahead, cut into this.
Let's go.
And then, man, we'll
It's a good
see.
moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's read. Should I just read the letter for everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's some nice. You hear that? That's
that-
heavy. That's
that
heavy
card
card
stock.
That's heavy. This is something Tiffany would put on her wife, man. She
That's
got
some
that
church
event
fans right
company.
there. I wonder
Yeah. You're gonna have to bring this back to Tiffany and be like, babe, look how thick this is. This is a paper cut right here. This thing cut you. All right, it says, do you remember your first subscriber, your 100th subscriber, or your 1,000th subscriber? Chances are you do. And we know that you'll definitely remember your 100,000 subscriber.
Let's go.
Your fans may have found you while searching on YouTube, learned about you through a friend, or maybe showed up as a recommended video. No matter how they came to your channel, your audience stayed and their numbers increased because of you and the community you built. We're proud to honor your impressive milestone, reaching 100,000 subscribers with the Silver Creator Award. Congratulations. We know that you have many more stories to share with your community, and we know that your fans can't wait to amaze them even more with your commitment and creativity. So keep creating, keep building. We can't wait to see what you'll do in the next to support you along the way. And who knows, when you reach your 1,000,000th subscriber, we may just write you and ask, do you remember your 100,000 subscriber, from the CEO of YouTube.
Okay, YouTube.
Let's
go, bro.
There it is.
All right, here it is. So this is with Beyond the Letter and Beyond I Do.
Let's go.
And so shout out to my wife, who will be in the next episode on Beyond I Do. But here we go. We got the 100,000 subscriber silver plaque. It says presented to Beyond the Letter podcast for passing 100,000 subscribers from YouTube.
Is that a mirror?
Yeah, it is. It's a mirror. Yeah, it's a mirror.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's you.
I want to say thank you to Will. Go ahead, check that out, man. Thank you for all your help, Will. Thank you for being part of this.
That's dope.
Thank you for everything you bring to this, Will. Appreciate it so
dope.
much.
Still get a little piece of that right there.
Yeah.
Cut it off later.
Take a selfie.
Yeah, that's fire.
That's
Thanks
dope.
to everybody who makes it happen. That's amazing.
That's dope, bro.
Look
Where
at
you guys
that.
going to hang that at?
Whew, man, I don't know. I was thinking about that. Maybe somewhere in here or somewhere in our offices. Our whole staff. We got a whole other staff behind us that love the podcast and support the podcast. So maybe we'll put it in our offices, the HQ offices, or in here for the podcast. We'll see. We'll make a team effort decision, but it's definitely not just this team that makes it happen. It's the whole rest of the staff that just champion it, always sharing with people that they know it'll encourage them. So, yeah, exciting. Yeah. So, man.
And we're already at 128,000 subscribers now.
Yeah.
So a quarter way to doubling already. So once they hit 100, because we're in the Slack channel, when is it going to get hit 100? When is it going to hit 100?
Yeah.
And by the time it hit 100, we're at 102. We're at 103.
I thought we were at 20,000. like legit, like a month ago, I was like, wait,
Yeah, what's going on?
what's happening right now?
No, it's right. And I've heard a rumor. I don't know how true it is, but they essentially when you hit 100,000, they open you up to all these more resources, not only internally, but also exposure wise, because YouTube deems you as a consistent creator. So then they just want to help it grow. So that's why I think it's already a quarter of 200,000, because I think once you hit that milestone, they open up some generators towards that. It's crazy.
So why don't you share some thoughts, some reflection thoughts, because you bought this table, you set this up, you had the vision of this, you put these mics here. So kind of just share some reflections of setting this up to getting to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I have felt like I always love getting feedback from people that listen to us and find us, because I had always felt like there was a conversation missing that I was having with my friends, and so whether it was with you and Heron and my brother Nathan, or it was with Will and Sammy and then Fuego, it's like and Phil and all these other people that kind of do life on a regular basis. We'd have these conversations. And I'd just kind of be like, what Christians are talking about this stuff, And none of my relationships personally, none of us are really harsh or judgmental individuals. And so, because I think there's some podcasts like that come in just really harsh, anti-culture type of stuff. But, I go to movies with my kids. I got to make decisions whether I'm going to shop at Target or not. I got to make decisions whether I'm going to let my kids see a certain Disney movie. I have to decide what type of school they're going to go in. I have to decide with my wife you know, what we're going to prioritize in our marriage. And then in church, I have to decide whether, you know, a church person has offended me, or if I should go to a church that's talking about X, Y, and Z or whatever. So it's like, and as I'm talking to people, you know, in church, it's like, oh, we're all relatively kind of going through the same thought pattern, right? We all may think very differently and come to very different conclusions. And so then that's, you know, 2 years ago where we had Beyond the Letter, and thank you to my brother Caleb, who kind of came up with the name, and then we breathed the vision to it, and he was with us for the first year of the journey. And so, you know, it's like this thought of like, hey, you bring the questions, we'll bring the conversation, because I felt like there were a lot of podcasts that were, hey, you have questions, I'll give you answers.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain level of like falsehood around answers, because we treat our faith as very black and white, but the more mature you get as a believer, you realize, wow, there's a lot of gray areas. You know, one of the recent episodes we talked about was like, some people are listening to secular music that are Christians, and not just like dirty rap, but just normal, and then others don't feel comfortable with it. It's like, that's a really gray area, and most people, they're looking on YouTube and they'll find someone that's just like, hey, you're not a Christian if you listen to secular music, and then you listen to the other person that's like, it's totally okay, listen to whatever you want as long as you're mature, whatever, right? So it's like, it's really, for us, it was about finding a space that not too many people were walking in as believers. And really, for me, creating a space that I would feel like I need, or I would want to mirror. Because more than likely, if I'm having the conversations or feel those desires of wanting those conversations, there's probably a lot of other people feeling the same way. So looking 2 years down the line now, and 1 year after Beyond I Do, it's just like, it's really great to see that what we set out to do is doing it. I never thought it would do like what it's done and reached, and I say that all the time. Like, I hadn't like I was gonna be happy if 200 people in our church were listening to it and were just like, oh, I got to know my pastor. You know,
me and this guy know what happens when you come on the show. I came on, and that was probably like was that my first podcast ever?
It was your first podcast?
No,
ever?
like period.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done a podcast before. And this was like a year ago. And my first clip that they did had like 7 million views just from their Instagram story.
And it was your second post on Instagram ever.
Like second or third ever. And just...
Yeah.
And then yours just
It was our first too. It was our first time.
First time ever on a pod, right?
Ever on a pod.
And
I was like, it's my last time ever on the podcast. Like, everybody got hit in the house. Everybody.
Fuego probably got like 8 to 10 million views on top of radio DJs talking about it, World Star Hip Hop talking about it, No Jumper Podcast, all these hip hop they talking about your guys' clip. And so you got, and you were the ones.
I texted you. I was like, bro, hey, how do I handle this?
Do I need to do a town rally?
He was like, bro,
do I need
I'm so
to bring my
sorry. I
own?
didn't prep you before this. I was like,
so Ashley calls me and she's like, hey, you may want to check in on Fuego. And I'm like, why would I check in on Fuego? Like, I love him, but why would I check him out? And she goes like, his clip's gotten like, at that time, it was like his clip's gotten like 3 million views.
Yeah.
And they're getting like land blasted.
For real.
And she goes, and I just talked to Tiffany, and Tiffany's trying to respond
To
and explain
every
herself to
single one.
the pastor's
I'm like,
heart of just like, we love you. We get, and Tiffany's like,
Our services are at 9 and 11.
That's like the small church of like 30 people to a mega church in 30 seconds. It's like, right? It's like you're at Shepherd to like what?
Yes.
Like, how do we do all this? Where's Jethro? Like, you're gonna kill yourself.
And and here's what's just absolutely crazy about Fuego's situation is, and Tiffany's, is like, I talked to Fuego we're texting at first because I'm actually getting a tattoo. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, bro, I can't pick up the phone. Because I'm like, there's a lot of people around, and the context of what we're going to be talking about is going to be really weird. We're talking about, abortions, and we're talking about breakups. So I was like, no, like in a tattoo shop, this is not going to make sense to anybody. And so I'm in Los Angeles, like hour and 15 minutes away, 20 minutes away, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna for the sake of Fuego and Tiffany, I'm gonna have to pull the plug on this clip. Like, I personally am like, this is great news because it's gonna open the door for a lot of people. But I was like, I forgot to tell them that people go viral on our podcast. It's just it's a grace that, like God has given us,
Some call it a curse.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. And so
it was like a grace.
I was hoping they would give us grace.
Yeah. Because normally it's like whether we've had Julian on or Will or not Will, Jeff Osborne or anyone else. I like before we film to say, hey, obviously we have nothing planned, but depending on how passionate you are about something, depending on how transparent you are about something, our team may catch that. They're going to clip it, and there's a potential strong likelihood that you're going to go viral. If you've never been viral before, like, just here's some things I suggest. Turn off your notifications of comments, so you can make it where only people that you follow or friends that, like, say I follow Aaron and he follows someone else that's a trusted person. Mm-hmm. It's like those are the notifications you get. Anyone that's like a complete stranger, you have to choose to go through, So I always recommend, like, hey, do that after you leave the podcast, just for a little bit, because something may pop if you don't know how to. Which even still to this day, that's how it is for me, because some people are just very mean, and they're not even criticizing what you're saying; they're just going for the jugular. And so even Ashley texted me about something someone reposted. I was like, don't tell me. I don't want to know what they said. It doesn't matter to me, But I'm like, because should Will or Sammy or Jermaine or Heron send me a hip hop video or something like that, I may turn into a gangster. So I'm like, I gotta protect myself of what I see. But I didn't tell. Fuego and Tiffany was the one couple that I forgot to tell them that. And so sure enough, here they are. They are thrown into the deepest ocean.
As deep as it gets.
As deep as it gets. I mean, radio stations.
And it's such a personal story, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like completely naked. Radio stations are playing it. Hip hop podcasts are talking about it. It's just like in the matter of like 4 days. And I'm like, I gotta pull the plug. This is like, because Fuego's gonna be like, no, it's fine. We'll do it. And I'm like, no, it's like, I don't know how they're gonna feel in the long run. So I'm gonna pull it. And then literally I'm texting Aaron and another group, and I'm just like, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking. I think I'm gonna pull it. I don't want Fuego, because they were new friends to us, and so I really didn't know each other like that. So I'm like, I don't want them thinking we did them wrong or something like that. And so I'm like, I'm pulling it. I'm in a tattoo shop, and I've shared this before. I look over, and there's a literal tattoo artist who I've been there. I had already met him twice. He's very quiet and cold and all that. He wasn't my artist. He's a different one. And he's watching Fuego and Tiffany's clip.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's crazy.
And I'm just like, I'm literally about to text Fuego, hey man, we're going to pull the clip, blah, blah, blah. I don't really want you guys going through anything. And I look over, and then I start talking to the dude. I'm like, that's my podcast, blah, blah. He's like, oh yeah, I moved in my girlfriend a month ago. I don't know what I'm doing. Never had a father.
Wow.
He goes, because whenever I go in there, I like maybe have a hoodie or a hat on or whatever, so he didn't correlate the podcast at all. He goes, I sent my girlfriend like 5 videos of yours from your relationship thing.
Wow.
Because at first he was like, there's no way I've seen your podcast or whatever. And he looks and he's like, hey man, you've been helping me have a relationship with my girlfriend.
Crazy.
Which is a huge open door, because for us, being people of faith, we don't necessarily encourage living with your girlfriend. Yeah. But at some point, we're going to get you into a deeper conversation. If we just start helping you with your relationship,
sure.
you're gonna say, okay, if Adam and Ashley are having a healthy relationship, what are some other steps they're taking? Well, they took marriage and all these other things like that. So that moment happens, and I'm just like, I gotta hit this to Fuego.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, bro, I don't know if this is gonna do anything for you, but I'm an hour and a half away from the church, like. Dude, stranger next to me is watching your clip. I shared the gospel with him, used it as a moment to talk about God's redemption, used it as a moment to say, hey, if you're judging her, how do you think God would feel about you? You're telling me you've never done anything, any dirt, and if she can't have forgiveness, why do you deserve forgiveness? And he's like, yeah, you're right. I probably judged a book by its cover, huh?
Yeah.
I say, yeah, but thank God he doesn't do that. He's like, man, that's deep.
It
was just like,
It's crazy. How did you process that?
Well, at first, when I first got out, I was kind of offended. Like, about my wife, she was telling me the things that people were saying, and I was just like, man, because I kind of have like this protector type mentality. I'm like, hold on. And then that's when I called Pastor Adam, and I was like, bro, how do you respond to this? I'm pretty sure you've gone viral and done things like this. And then that's when he called me and let me know about the testimony. So my immediate reaction was like, I wanted to respond to everybody, and I was like, man, maybe I should take it down, because then my kids were getting affected by it too.
It went even to your kids.
Yeah, they would even go onto their pages and say, because
he's got teenagers.
Yeah,
you know?
I got a 21-year-old, 17-year-old now, and so like, and then my 6-year-old daughter. So like, they're going on their pages and saying certain things like, hey, your mom's and your dad is, you know what I mean?
That's a whole nother part I didn't even hear about.
So those things were actually certain things that I was like, man, how do you kind of navigate through these things? So we're the same advice that we're getting for us, like we're letting them know about the stories behind it of people getting saved, because there are some other people that would hit me up on Instagram.
Did your kids know your guys' story and your testimony like that?
They did.
That's a powerful moment to even like talk through that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sheesh.
And so that's kind of how we were processing it. Like, we were grateful for the way Pastor Adam like pastored me and my wife through it, so that we could pastor our kids.
And you know, like it was you know, interesting to see kind of even how, like, if I remember correctly, like some of your community came around you at the church, right? Because it's like, and what was even more interesting, because I had told Fuego, like, at the end of the day, like, we're happy to take it down. And that's what we had told Will from the beginning. Like, you want something taken out, we tell every guest, if you know, this environment is a very comfortable environment. You're going to find yourself saying stuff that you never thought you would say publicly. And if you're driving home and you're like, I shouldn't have said that, let me know. And you've done that before early on, and you've just gotten really good at self-editing. You do it less, or just not caring.
I just got numb, bro. I just got
but there's there's even times with me that I've said stuff, and you've called me and you were like, hey, bro, just on the outside looking in, I think you should take that statement out. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'll call the team. And it happens very rarely. But what was crazy though, so because it was like I had told you guys, man, you know, regardless, I think God's in this, but regardless, like just pray about it. If you guys want to take it out, I'm gonna take it out. And I think it was Tiffany, your wife, who, one of our pastor friends, Adam Smallcombe, who's been on the podcast before, apparently like 9 months prior, and I was actually there that night.
Yep. Yeah.
You had been given like a prophetic word of knowledge in service by him.
Yeah.
And you want to tell the roundabout of like what that was, and they actually had it on video, and it basically gave nuance to this exact moment that he was going to be going through.
Yeah.
And it was like,
so I mean, it was probably like what, 2,000 people or something at this conference that they had, and just out of nowhere he goes on stage during worship and he walks up and he's like, Fuego and Tiffany, this year I feel like the Lord wants me to tell you that he sees the heartache and the struggles and things and the suffering that you guys have gone through, and that building that you guys have been praying for, you guys are going to get it this year. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of let him know about what we were hoping to get. And he was like, you're going to speak some things and you're going to be sharing your testimony. It's going to really be helping a lot of people to be set free and get to know Jesus. Things are going to go viral. And I was like, okay. When you're in it, you're kind of like, all right, great. And then he started speaking some other profound things to us, just about like our integrity and just what God would do to protect our family and things like that. And what do you know? The next week, we got the building.
Yeah.
And then we got invited by Pastor Adam to come on.
Maybe 9 months after that.
Yeah. And then after that, things went virally for those things. And we were like, oh, snap. And then we remembered what Pastor Adam said. And that's how everything.
And it was almost this inference from Adam that, like, when you go viral, it's like it's not going to be comfortable.
Yeah,
it's going to be like a discomfort, but God's going to use your story and all that kind of stuff like that. And then it was like they're in this moment and then like teetering, like, should we just silence those videos? Blah blah blah, take them down. And then it's like, no, this is exactly what the Lord was going to do. And then Tiffany had even shared on our like follow-up podcast that like a girl with her same story, but like a teenager came in the church a few months later off of that, either off of that clip or connected, someone connected, and she was able to like minister to that teenager with a similar story.
I mean,
you know,
people
I think
have been
that's the complexity of like getting this type of plaque going viral, because creators want to go viral fast and like, but there is a dark side. Can you handle? Right?
Yeah.
Like, so I remember doing a clip on Beyond the Letter, and it got like 3-4 million views. I was talking about a story at Bank of America with a female employee. Hey, do you talk to your husband like that? That type of thing.
Yeah.
So then what happens? People are just arguing in the comments. Boom, 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 boom. But then what happens is people start saying, well, you're saying that because you're not black enough. Oh, he has a white wife. Oh, your wife's ugly. Hey, your mother-in-law's ugly. So they're talking about my wife, talking about my mom. You don't even know my wife's Mexican. Like, So like in those moments, protection mode.
Yeah.
Like
Straight up.
I got to get in front of my wife seeing this.
Yeah.
But my wife was still feeling the same way for me.
Yeah.
So when I called Erica,
Yeah.
I said, hey, have you seen the comments going on? Yes. I went to the page and I deleted the comments about you and mom.
Yeah.
So the teamwork and the maturity are ready to handle that, because like I'm thinking like, what is my wife gonna think? But there is a temptation in that moment being misunderstood about my wife why are you so free to talk about my mom? But it's like, I don't know you and I don't care. I really, now if somebody on this table has something to say, I care here. For sure. But like, I think that's a part where people that want this plaque to go viral aren't necessarily thinking, hey, social media is teeters on the negative side with just like no empathy. I just share whatever I want to share with no consequence. Can you handle that before your aspirations of saying I want to grow to this height?
That's good.
And my view, and every pastor's different. Like a lot of pastors, they turn their comments off or limit them and stuff like that. To me, I think social media should somewhat serve as the Wild Wild West. Because to me, now again, I hate the negative comments. They do get to me. They bother me, and I feel uncomfortable with certain things and get real and can get insecure and stuff like that. But regardless, to say on top of that is I love to keep our platform completely uncensored. I mean, other than, there may be rare occasions that a person needs to be, blocked or reported or whatever because of the type of thing that they're saying. But overall, it's like uncensored, because to me, it shows everybody exactly where humanity is at. And that was one of the things I originally told Fuego was like, if you're wondering what humanity thinks about your story and testimony, they're telling you that there's no other wonder, right? Like, open up the comment section and you will see exactly where man is at right now, which as a pastor, all I ever want to know is where are people at in their faith? Where are people at in their life? And it's always hard to judge it. It's always hard to recognize it or know or have that barometer. Where now, because of this platform, it's not hard to know where humanity's at. It's not hard to see how divisive people are. So when people tell me, Adam, talk about politics more, I'm like, the few times we've clipped stuff on politics, just open up the comments, see how divisive it is.
Yeah.
Like you want to be more divisive? Well, that's never been the plan to Beyond the Letter. But the plan is in not being divisive, but just sharing our opinion and letting people know how we as believers live. It exposes us to not even just the world, but even how Christians act, because I feel those same ways. There was early on episodes and Beyond I Do, and when Ashley go viral and people would talk about her eyes and the way she looked, and what a lot of people don't know is Ashley has Graves' disease, and so it causes her eyes to do that, and because she has hyperthyroidism, and she was very sick at one point and all that. And so you want to go in there and you either want to explain or beat them up, or be like, I bet, here's my address. I bet you want to say that about my wife in person. But instead, honestly, I try my best, but I have to walk like Christ. I say, Father, forgive them for they don't know not what they do. They don't. They have no idea what they're doing. No clue. And the closer that I could become to Jesus and have to apply his principles in my own life, which is through our own version of ostracization, which is why I believe it's important to put ourselves naked out there in these ways, and you know, and when we put these clips out or these episodes out, and you let people, there's going to be things people agree with, disagree with, but to me, it's opportunity for all of us to walk like Christ. And I love people in our community where they try to get in there and defend us or whatever. You know, it's very kind, and
because they used to be in the gang or something.
Like hold on, and you know, and some people, they just love the arguing, and so you know, they'll get in there. And but I, you know, to me, I'm just like, just see where the world is at. It just, you know,
I think the podcast vision is coming off the heels of COVID, where the world got sick of leaders acting like we knew the answers.
Yeah, that's good.
Here's what we're supposed to do. Here's what. And I think the vision of this podcast has given permission for other leaders to process raw thoughts.
Yeah, for real.
And I don't know yet. Here's what I'm thinking today.
That's good.
So you processing, you angry with your wife for scratching your rim. Like the courage to have that while looking at your wife, laughing, talks about the health of marriage, and is not all figured out. So what it does, it challenges our marriages. Like, are we free to just process when we get upset like that, or do we just tell our boys?
For sure.
So I think that vision has helped what the generation that's younger than us that want that authenticity in leadership. Oh, wait, he's a pastor. Wait, they're Christian, and they're talking about, they got angry at this, or they're mad at this, or this is my insecurity, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It just gives permission that, like, oh, I can do that too, but also, man, that's the authenticity that I like.
Yeah. And I was going to say too, like, there's like the negative side of social media, how it gets crazy, but also the positive side. I'm thinking, like, it's one thing to go viral on Reels. It's a whole nother thing to have 120,000 subscribers on a podcast that goes over an hour per episode, which shows me Beyond the Letter is giving language to people's experience of God and giving clarity for them to understanding culture and faith, right? Because as much as people are arguing, the loudest people are usually the two extremes, but the people who are listening and just taking it in are the ones who are seeking. They're actually curious, right? Good. And so as they're tuning in, I said this before on the podcast, but I think it makes sense for this context. I heard someone say, boomers spoke with so much conviction. No, they spoke, it's a specific phrase. Boomers spoke.
Get it right for the Instagram
You know
clip.
how I go. Boomers spoke truth without love.
Yeah.
So millennials are speaking love without truth.
Yeah.
But I think what Gen Z is looking for is clarity. Right? So you could preach with conviction, which was with boomers. I think millennials, we preach with a lot of compassion. But I think in this generation, you need conviction, compassion, and clarity. Right?
Yeah.
And I think what a podcast does, or Beyond the Letter does, it gives us like space to talk through differences, to clarify what we mean. And I think the audience is craving that. I think Americans, especially Christians, are craving deep understanding. So even like our episode when we just started talking about politics randomly, I was like, is he going there? Is he not? And when he went there, I was like, let's go.
Feeling each other out.
And I was like, I know where we stand. But then the audience doesn't. But the comments were like, this was so freaking refreshing. Right? Like, I didn't know that's how you could think through this. I didn't know the scriptures went about it this way. I didn't know pastors could have differences. And I feel like the podcast gives you, because I feel like the pulpit's sacred. So
100%.
So when I'm in the pulpit, I would say, hey, this is what the word says. And then I'll move aside and say, here's what I think. I can be wrong, but this is what the word says. But a podcast is like, y'all, we just talking.
I think all day.
I'm thinking all day. This is what I'm thinking. This is where the scripture says, but this is where I'm nuancing it. And I think people are craving that. And the fact that we talk about everything, right? And so people are like, oh, okay, believers could engage in every topic. There is biblical truth. There is a craving for understanding. So I think that's the net positive of Beyond the Letter. The net negative is all that hate, all that drama, all that crazy.
But to me, that's part of the pie. Like, you can't have genuineness. Like, as you're sharing the podcast, it's like you'll have comments, you know, but then you have all these people sharing it because you can see the shares. Then you have all these people liking it. So it's like, but But we tend to, the squeakiest wheel is the one that gets the grease. And so we tend to give a lot of credence to those negative naysayers. And even in our own lives, regular day to day, we give a lot of attention to those that make us angry, get on our nerves. Seriously. And it's like, but there's a lot of people who aren't making you angry. There's a lot of people who aren't getting on your nerves. There's a lot of moments that are good about your day, but what do we focus on? For sure. The negative comment, the negative sites. And so it's like, it's very easy now that in this space you could actually, to me, it's like, it does show a platform that shows us really where people are at, like what they're hungry for, what they want to learn about, what they want to talk about. And even as we grow in not only doing the podcast, but just as individuals in our own relationship with Christ, our own experiences, culture's always changing. So we got to approach it differently. So you got to help people navigate through those moments.
And you guys actually, what you're saying right there helped me a whole lot, because I really do want to shine the light of Christ in my life, but it really allows me to see what I believe, if I believe what these people are saying, or if I really believe what his word is telling me. Because what is it? Proverbs 24:10. If you faint in adversity, your faith is small, right? But I love the message version of that, right? If you fall to pieces in the midst of a crisis, there really wasn't much to you in the first place. And I think it was A.W. Tozer who said, "It's doubtful whether God can use a man significantly without first wounding him deeply." And so all of those things, man, I feel like kind of come together to let me know, like, what am I built? What am I created from? And so all of it, I do want to go back to my old ways. I do sometimes, when I see those things, I want to act fleshly or respond because I'm good with words, but I just choose to say, Lord, like, whatever it is, I want your glory to be made known. As people draw near to my life, may they see you. And so that's what I'm hoping in the midst of it.
I'd be interested for you, Will, because I could be wrong. I don't think this has happened to me yet, but it's happened a few times with you where other Christian thought leaders have like used your clips and then like even went after you negatively. So like these are individuals that like we know. These are individuals that's like I know their address, so it's not the negative comments are strangers. And then there's individuals that's like, it's like I know you guys. We're 1 degree away from a person, and like because that hasn't happened to me yet, and so I don't have an answer yet on like what I would do. I know I wanted to. So
I've had in a couple instances, YouTubers, influencers. Repost.
There was one in particular who went after you, and I actually I messaged one of his close friends and was just like, hey, like, you better pray I don't ever see this guy. This is my boy. And he was like, oh, no, what he does, it annoys me too, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know how I would respond if it, I don't think I would do anything, but I just mean in terms, I don't know how it would deal with me internally. So I'd be interested for you.
I mean, if I'm just keeping it a buck, like if I'm just talking like the conversations I had with the homies on my side.
Yeah.
This is just a personal thing. I have respect for all pastors because they're with the sheep. They're getting bit by the sheep. They're bleeding with the sheep. They're going to funerals. They're doing weddings. They're visiting the hospitals. But when I have a YouTuber,
like a Christian
influencer, who hasn't gone to seminary, who has no Bible degree, who's not pastoring a community and weeping with people make negative comments, my initial response, my pride is like, they just feel so, I just feel like, dude, like, come on, dog, like, I'm not a podcaster. I'm a pastor who happens to be on a podcast with my dog, with my friends. And so a little bit of my, it's hard to say, like, a little bit of my pride is like, I don't even really care what you have to say because you're not even in the game. It's almost like people who never play basketball or never play sports, but they're in the audience and they're cussing out LeBron. Stop playing weak. They've never played like football their entire life. And that's why you see all those like NBA players like after the game, they look at the reporters and like, bro, I don't even care what you have to ask me because you have no idea what I'm going through, right? That's kind of how I feel. Now, if it was like a pastor, a fellow pastor that I respect, and they were to comment something, I actually have more like, oh, what you think? Like, why are you saying that? What am I doing that you think is rubbing you the wrong way? But if I'm just talking about people like that, I've had a few, and I've had even a few of them afterwards. I reach out to me to come on the pod. Because a lot of the things that I say on the pod goes viral because it sounds controversial.
Yeah.
But it might seem like my personality type is I like debating. I actually don't like debating.
Right.
Because to me, with my personality type, it's a waste of time.
Right? Yeah, you're just
sharing.
Yeah, you're bold with your convictions and your values, but that's not your boldness. Isn't it's not a personality trait.
Yeah, because I'm not necessarily a thought leader or a debater or a lecturer. I'm a pastor shepherding people, and I'm trying to give clarity and context of how to live the Christian life. And then these podcasters and debaters are like, hey, we want to come on my platform and talk about
women in ministry,
politics, or whatever. And I'm like, look, bro, I ain't got time for that, dog. Like, I would rather spend my time raising up women in ministry and giving them roles of leadership than debating you on your podcast why they shouldn't do that. I don't got time for that, bro. I'm like, I got 40 to 60 hours a week shepherding and discipling people. And that's your world, so you just do your thing. So that's kind of
they're looking for the next thing that's going to grow. And
I've had like some people in my church like message me some of their content.
Yeah.
And like, oh, what do you think about this? I'm like, I ain't got no time for that, dude.
Yeah.
That's how I
get people all the time that send me stuff like, you should have this guy. You guys would probably like debate, or it'd be good for the show. And I'm like, that's not what we set out to do. Like that stuff may happen, but and like I think we don't go like, hey, how can we say or get the most controversy? In that case, there's a million people I could get if I was just trying to grow the platform off controversy.
And that's the thing too, right? About clarity and calling and clarity, focus, and calling. Y'all know the movie Book of Eli with Denzel?
Yeah.
That one scene where like something's happening there's a bad thing happening. He's like, just stay focused.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? It's a little graphic. So he's like, he needs to get this book, you know what I mean, to the right location.
Yeah.
There are times on my social media, the same few people that I know are like within my community, not like in my immediate community, but like 2 to 3 degrees separated, they keep tagging each other, hating on me.
Yeah.
Right? And I am tempted to respond to those people. All the hundreds and thousands of comments, random people, but there's a few, like I have like actual followers who hate. Like they're following to hate.
Yeah.
And they're tagging and tagging and tagging. There's even like some of them be tagging like Matt Chandler. Tagging in my post because they know I know him and they know he disagrees with what I would say here. Yeah. And they're just tagging him. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
And then I think to myself, like,
they got a lot of time, bro.
Wow, people must really hate themselves. you know, I was thinking like just recently, like I just preached out of Mark 14 where the woman with the alabaster jar breaks a jar, and Judas says this could have been spent on the poor.
Yeah.
But he was the one who was stealing money.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people's negativity and hate is just a projection of how much they hate themselves.
Yeah.
And what you're saying and what you're doing and how you're living is just triggering what they wish they were.
Yeah.
Or reminding them of where they're not.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't say I have to hate on people, but stuff like that has given me like compassion as well as like just stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused. You know what I mean? Like this is more like the podcasting is like it's a blessing, but we're all 4 of us are pastoring.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're with the people. So that's just
there's people that actually, and sometimes I actually get goaded into thinking that like, because the only really type of if I don't check the comments too much because it's just a lot.
Come on, say it, bro.
No, because what's crazy is like there is far much more good things being said.
That's real.
But it's hard for me to get through. You know, I wish hopefully in the future there'll be like some type of AI where like it could filter, show you first the positivity before. Because like no, you'll just see Yelp stuff. It's like no, it should be like this guy's fat. Why is he talking about? And that's the stuff that I'm like, I'm not trying to see that, dude. I felt fat this morning. So it's not, if someone's like, oh, this guy's an idiot, that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's like when people are literally, or like, his wife's ugly, and you're like, why are you talking about my wife? Like, am I gangster? Like, don't talk about my friend, or don't, so it's like, it's that kind of stuff. That's what gets me upset. Sure. Anything that's like, this guy's a liar, or he's not a real pastor. Like, that don't bother me at all. It's really the other stuff. So, like, But if people DM me, that's somewhat how you could get a response out of me. Not negatively. It's if someone pulls on my pastor string. And so, there will be people who will DM me that I think that they're like needing pastoring. And so it's like, it'd be like, hey, I saw your clip. I'd love to ask you a question. And then I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on? I'm like, I can get this person to plug into a church. Yeah. I can, whatever, right? Like, so it's like, hey, what's up? Yeah, God is going to kill you because you said, like, there was a clip I had where I said, people,
That was a DM, not a comment.
It was a DM.
He was trying to
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Bruh.
And so it's like.
That makes me mad,
It
bro.
was like this little white kid in the South with like a little fishing profile pic, like, and I'm like, because I had a clip.
He was fishing for you, bro.
Like, no, because I feel like part of my job is to protect this man. Yeah, like, so it's like.
So I'm like, I had a clip where, I had basically, just said like, I think it's whack people who want to call Jesus only Yeshua and get mad at people because you don't know Hebrew. So if you can't read the whole Bible in Hebrew, don't tell me to call Jesus' name Yeshua. If you can, then I'll have respect and I'll. So it's like I had a clip, something like that. And apparently there's like a really famous businessman who's like anti-church. He's featured on like a lot of those like success. I don't think it's Andy
Does
Elliott.
He always
it might be Andy
Yeshua?
Yeah, and he says
Yeshua.
Yeshua. And so this kid is like a follower, like a zealot, a disciple of that guy. And so I think he's pastoring. And so then he's like, God's going to kill you. Don't ever tell people not to call Jesus Yeshua. If you knew anything that you were doing, blah, 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 blah. And so like, I'm like reading it and I'm like, am I about to take this kid's lunch right now? Like, I was just like, dude, I'm gonna tear this little boy up right now. And then I thought, nah, I had to really think about it for a second because number one, I'm a pastor, and so I have a gift with my words, and number two, my degree study in school was apologetics, and so. Even if I'm losing a debate, you won't know because the words I'm using is going to make you think I'm winning. And so it's like, unless you too have studied some type of formation of debate, even if I'm wrong, it's still going to sound right because I studied it. So it's like you're not going to win this right now. And so I immediately it was like, oh, I'm going to take this kid to the bank. And then I thought, I signed up for this to pastor people. Everything else is for the birds. Like whether someone disagrees, and I'm always learning. Like there are times I've said stuff that it's like, oh, I probably wouldn't use that word it that way. That was unkind. First couple episodes when we first launched Beyond the Letter, we had felt like we did a couple episodes that were really harsh on the LGBTQ community, and not that our beliefs were wrong. It was just like, oh, that episode kind of felt like we sat too long. So it's like I've learned and grown, and we still talk about our beliefs and values in that way. But it's like I signed up to help people win at life, grow in a relationship with Christ, find local church, use this as a front door for people's faith to say, you know what? When was the last time I talked about Jesus? When was the last time I went to church? When was the last time I engaged my faith? When was the last time me and my wife prayed together? Any of those things, like that's what I signed up for. So if I ever do get, and it does happen sometimes, if I get reeled in the DMs, then I just immediately delete it. And so, but I thought for a moment, dude, I'm gonna
I think we all got to be mindful of DMs because, like, legit, this is what happens. There will be a person that'll DM you and me the exact same thing. There'll be people that DM me,
and then you'll give a thoughtful response, and I'll give a thoughtful response, and then they'll be like, "Oh, cool, that's what Pastor Aaron told me." I'm like, "I just spent 20 minutes crafting this message for you,"
or the reverse can happen. There's division, and you see what I'm saying? Like, so it's like me and Steve have had to have those conversations. If people ask me a question, hey, what did Steve say? Or just being mindful, like when people pull on those pastor strings. People use DMs like text messages. I don't.
I get that a lot. Hey, what do you think about churches that do X, Y, and Z? I get that all the time.
Yeah.
What do you think about pastors that say X, Y, and Z?
And then that could get screenshot.
And that's receipts. Oh, I do want to ask you guys a question. Like, how do you keep your heart kind of clean before you preach, and you've been faced with all those, DMs and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how do you kind of prepare your own thoughts?
What's the way that you do it, bro?
Me?
With your audio text messages, with your calls, with like, hey, bro, I'm gonna bare my heart right now, like that.
Yeah.
We do the same exact thing, bro. Like,
That's good.
like you have modeled healthy rhythms of release in safe places. For me, it's going on a run. For you, it's talking it out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah. And like, man, I love the human experience. So, so I use that. Here's the worst thing someone could ever do is message me that stuff on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning, because I'm going to preach the best sermon I've ever preached in my life.
It's like MJ. He plays better when he's pissed.
Yeah. Like if something like that happens, I will. And it's happened on occasion, not much. Like if you catch me Thursday, Friday, that'll be enough hang time for me to get over it by Sunday. But if you catch me Saturday night, Sunday morning, and my humanity's there, I have enough maturity to forgive and walk away. But I'm about to go into that sermon because I'm gonna immediately know, as somewhat of a human experience, like this is where people are at right now, or this is how it is. And so, like for me, I feel like I preach some of my best stuff when people get on my nerves, because I'm more aware. I'm more aware that really you start falling apart.
I become dangerous. Like I become like mean.
Yeah.
And I become
now my dad is that way.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I'm locked in before I preach, because I could get pissed, and I could get like, I'm an 8-2 on the Enneagram, so I have a need to prove and like to need to be against.
Yeah.
I mean, when you shared that, I had a whole nother thought, and we don't need to go this route, but I was thinking, it's not just social media, it's this phone, dude. Like this phone, I just had this thought a few days ago. I was on this panel at this conference, and they asked a similar question, like about social media and about influence and about the phone. And as they were asking, I had this thought. The root of all sin is to want to be like God, right? Genesis 2, if you eat from the tree of knowledge and good and evil, you'll become like God. And I had this revelation, like the phone is a temptation to be like God, right? Because instead of being present with your phone, you could be omnipresent, right? Instead of being limited with your phone, you could be omnipotent. You have unlimited resources, unlimited access. Without, in the natural human flesh, you don't know everything. But with your phone, you could be omniscient. You could know all things, right? So for me, social media and all these things have been a temptation to try to be like God. And so,
that's good,
but the invitation from God for me has been this long journey of embracing my humanity, embracing my limitations, and the things that only God can do, let Him do it. Which is like, if God breathes on it and makes it go viral, it was God.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to make it go viral,
Yes.
then that's when I step into trying to be like God with devices and phones, or even, and that's true of anything. If my church grows, let God grow it. I just need to water it, right? Apostle Paul says, some water, some sows, but God's the one who makes it grow. Yeah. So I think for me, my mindset has been, I'm going to be faithful, I'm going to steward. But when it comes to the virality, the growth of it, the reach of it, the way that people comment on it, that's not something that's up to me. That has to be up to God, right? So that journey has been so helpful for me, and it's still a tension and a struggle, right? It's a tension and a struggle, because the reason why I was off social media for 3 years, almost 3 years, was because I did care too much, and I didn't know I cared too much until, like what you said, in 2020, when America fell apart, like all the messages and all the DMs and everybody fighting, it showed me that, man, I really care what people think about me. Yeah. And so when I was gone for 2.5 years and did the inner work, now it's like there's a healthy tension and a healthy balance. And that's just something I constantly wrestling through, you know what I mean? And
you know what, bro, I'm thinking like real time as you say that. I filmed something at 9, I had a meeting at 9:30. It was 9:17, and I'm like, I have a call coming in, and I'm like, oh, I can handle this right before the meeting. I shouldn't have picked up the phone. I should have gave myself some margin before the next meeting. I picked up the phone on something that was going to take longer than 13 minutes, and I tried to cram it to something. And this revelation that you got is having me think about that real time.
Yeah.
When we're in the meeting, I'm like, it was hard for me to process. Was something wrong with my mind? Well, I shouldn't have took that call. I rushed that in without processing before. So I think not just like the social media, the phone, but like giving ourselves margin and permission to say, I'm not going to look at anything right now's numbers related. There was a season where you literally told me, stop looking at, just ignore the numbers right now. So I'm looking at the same man that told me that, and then now there's 100,000 subscribers, right? Because there were values and rhythms that you were teaching me when I was trying to build. Because, you know, we can get tricked sometime that stewardship equals growth. Like stewardship equals I have it. And it's like, no, stewardship is I'm pastoring who's in front of me faithfully.
Or the concept of busyness. I'm important. I got this all the time, and not being actually busy, but it's like we love the concept of it, right?
That's how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
You
if
feel
I'm not
important.
on this, if I'm not in a meeting, if I'm not doing this, what's the next? I can't. I don't want to just sit in this one thing. And it's like what me and Fuego was kind of talking about it a little bit yesterday, where it was like talking about like how do you jump on and manage so many things? And to me, it's like get really great at one thing at a time. And that's going to be really hard to do because, you know, you're going to think this is boring doing the same thing over and over again. And that's one of the most common questions I get from pastors, which is like, how do you preach on Sunday? How do you do 2 podcasts a week? And I'm sure you're also running like the staff and the organization and stuff like that. And it's like, because actually, if I sat you down, even though it's a lot, and pretty much besides my Sabbath on Monday, almost every hour is taken up every single day. The reality is it's a pretty overly simplified stream of lifestyle that I'm living, right? And so you may take luxuries. You may have downtime that's just X, Y, and Z. Like I don't have time for that. So I don't go to Target and mosey. I don't go to the mall and walk the mall. I have zero time for that. And so I'm like, where you may have certain things as an individual, I gave that up to be able to do what I'm doing, but it is overly simplified. And when I lay them the schedule, this is what my life is robotic in a lot of ways.
Sure.
This is my Thursday. But I've always been inspired. I was talking to you yesterday. Like I've always been inspired by Japanese culture. That was like, whatever you do, whatever you're doing, just get really good at mastering that over and over and over. And so like for me, whether we have Beyond the Letter, Beyond I Do, Bible Club, to me, in my mind, it's all the same. It's mastering the same medium over and over. And that's why I feel like I could do that rather than been like, hey, we did this, let's go do radio, or let's go. It's like, no, that's the same. To me, it's the same machine, and I'm just getting better and better and better. And that's what I want to do. Whereas like there's this concept of busyness that says, well, everyone wants to know, well, what's next and what's this and what. It's like, I'm not. Outside of the same mediums, like I'm not doing that
for sure.
But it's quick to fall. It's just like it's so quick to fall into that machine that forces you to say, hey, if you want to appear to be successful to people, you need to appear to be this way. You need to appear to be busy. You need to tell people regularly that you're successful. You got to look at the numbers as much as possible. And it's like if you do that, you're in trouble. Now there's wisdom, like, oh yeah, we look, like we pay attention to certain trends, and it's like, but we don't live by this.
I think there's a difference between like chasing something and stewarding what God's given you. Right. And to each is given, like, to the one who's given much is required. Right. And Jesus literally gives one person 1 talent, one person 2 talents, one person 3, 5. So everyone has different gift mix. So I think just stewarding your gift and stewarding your lane instead of chasing. Right, that's when the problem happens. When you're chasing the next highlight reel, when you're chasing the next viral moment or big opportunity, versus staying focused on what God's called you to do. And then, if it just so happens that God breathes on what you're doing, then God. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes success is things failing. In this, when you look at Jesus, and I just thought about this in John chapter 6, he turns a massive following of 5,000 people after he fed them, right? Not including men and women. And it says, if you want to follow me, eat my flesh and drink my blood. And it says the crowd starts leaving. And he just keeps preaching until there's only 12 left. Right? For him, success at that moment was getting rid of weeding people out, right? Yeah. And because Jesus was focused on his calling. He wasn't focused on reaching the masses, right? If you're a TMZ or you're his publicist, you're like, yo, you're getting it wrong right now. This is the moment. This is the time. We're about to take over. This is the movement that we've been waiting for, the deliverance. It's like, no,
altar call.
Yeah. I just need 12. I just need 12 because he wasn't chasing. He was focused on obeying the Father's calling on his life. So I think a lot of times I've had people be like, oh, Will, like, you're so successful, like, you're this and that, like, how do you keep your heart pure? Or something. I'm like, like, I didn't chase to be successful. Like, I was just trying to preach every week to the 12 kids I had for 6 years in my youth group. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and beyond the letter, it's not like you were trying. It's just like, yo, we just had a calling from God and a vision from God.
That's good.
And he breathed on it. And it doesn't mean we're better or worse than anybody. Right? Because God doesn't see the way that man sees, right? And the last thing I just thought this too is like, just randomly dropped, I don't know if this is true, but I heard someone say this. They said every war that Saul fought, every single battle he won, except the one he died in.
Mm-hmm. Dang.
If you read the narrative of 1 Samuel, every single battle King Saul fought, he won. But he was failing before God every single time.
Yeah.
David lost many battles and many wars, but he was succeeding before God's eyes because his heart was for devotion and worship.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't judge things by the outside. Right? God's scale is completely different from the world's scale. And
That's good.
I think because I'm like celebrating beyond the letter right now. But other people could see that and be like, man, I wish I had that many.
I gotta make these tweaks. I gotta make these changes. I'm gonna do this.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think for me, it's like specifically in this field of medium, and then I would also probably say like Sunday type ministry, but it's like, and I've said before on this podcast, but I've had a marketing company and a media company, and so I've been producing podcasts for people for close to 8 years. And one of which is an individual who's not a Christian, and he's top 50 every single week on the religion and spirituality page. And I started his podcast for him. And he had started off with faith, and then he fell off, and now he's like a ayahuasca spiritual type guru. But I had produced a lot of podcasts for people, and most of their onset, you sit down and you do like a discovery meeting. It's like, what's your goal? And everybody's answer is want to reach as many people as possible. So the response to that is as deep as your pockets go, as willing as you are to give the audience like what they want. If you want to feed that machine, then more than likely we can get you what your desire is. There's like, as long as you're not a total bore, like we could find an audience for you, and you have the money, like we could get you where you want to go, and that's always the person's always, most of the time their response was just biggest platform. At that time it was, I want the blue check on Instagram. It's always been, I want YouTube, I want a certain amount of subscribers, I want to be on a top list on Spotify or whatever that is, and so that's always been the response. And so I did that for so many people. And what I saw every single time was whatever number or whatever accomplishment they were doing, it wasn't enough. It was, Adam, how can we get this bigger? Adam, and I would come to them and I'd be like, hey, this week was down for whatever reason, or this week didn't do this. And it's like, well, no, we don't like that. And it's like, well, this is normal. You might have just said something that week that wasn't interesting. That's the nature of the game. And no, I don't like that. And so it's like, well, we could, back then, stuff's a little different now because Congress has changed laws. But back then it was like, we could throw money at whatever you want, and we can get your numbers to wherever you want them to be. Okay, cool, let's do that. And it's like, did you know that we could pay talent and we can get their audience too? And they'll be, well, let's do that. I have the money for that. And so there were always these responses of like, I will fake it till I make it as much as possible. And then eventually sometimes they make it, but they're still never happy. So for me, whether it's building a church, there's this idea in church. It's like, okay, I'll be happy if I get X amount of 1,000 people on Sunday. Yeah. Well, guess what? You get those people, you go, well, we did it, so let's double it. And let's do this, let's do that. And same thing with a podcast. Like, oh, we reached someone would say, well, I'm already on my millionth subscriber. And for me, it's like when I've stepped into this, either leading our current church or this podcast, I've worked with every other type of person that has wanted the success, that has wanted the numbers. And I see where that ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I was on the person that was getting people there. And I never once saw a person satisfied for what they were doing. And they were accomplishing great things, And so for me, it was like, hey, going into this, the mission and the value cannot be the amount of people we reach, but the amount of people we help. Mm-hmm. And the amount of people who are brought in the community that feel that their life is genuinely transforming, because those are going to be people every single day that you're going to hear about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you'll never get tired of someone's marriage who was almost headed on divorce and now it's not. A couple that Ashley and I had heard on, last year at one point, it was her and her husband were separated. She found the Lord while they were separated, and she found the Lord at our church. Well, her husband started seeing my videos on their For You page, and a lot of my videos, or Ashley's, will talk about this is how a man should be with his wife, or a woman should. It was most so Ashley's videos. This is how a woman should respond to her husband. So he started sending his wife this is how a wife should be. This is how a wife. And then by about the third video, he said, if you were like this woman says, then maybe we wouldn't be getting a divorce.
Sheesh.
And then she said, she said something like, well, send me more videos or something like that. All while he didn't know he was sending her pastors. She'd gotten saved at our church.
That's crazy.
And so, and he did not go to church or anything like that. And so literally he sends her an actual full episode one day, not just now a clip. He's like, I'd like to talk about this.
Sheesh.
She says, okay. And then they end up meeting. She ends up breaking it to him. The videos you've been sending me are actually, I've given my life to Christ. I go to their church, And then he was like, well, I'd like to go. And then come to find out their marriage is working on being restored. Right.
Let's go.
And they no longer were separated. They moved back in together, husband and wife. So for me, it's like, I don't need 1 million subscribers for that story. Yeah. I don't need 1 million subscribers for a person was far from Christ, who goes to a buddy's church now. Like I don't need a number for that. Yeah. Like I just need one story like that, and we hear those regularly. And for me, that's enough fuel to go, we can keep doing it, as long as we can keep sustaining it, we're going to do it.
And when you're saying that, Pastor Adam, like I was just thinking about a story that I was having with a couple. We're having dinner at their house. As we're having dinner, they're like, man, I know God is going to do some big things in our life, and some great things. And I was just like, bro, what is that big thing? Like, what is that big thing? And he was describing like, a platform, and like he'll be able to do it. And I was just like, bro, no, let me just stop you for a minute. I was like, let me stop you for a minute, bro. I said, right now, I was like, look at your kids right there playing with mine. Right? I was like, hey, look at your other ones right there, bro. They're hiding under the sheets, man, and they're thinking like they're doing Bible study. The little kids are doing that, bro. I was like, this is the big thing right here. I was like, we're breaking bread, and bro, my wife's praying with your wife, bro. We're talking about. I said, this is the big thing.
Yeah, so you're in it right now.
Don't miss it, bro, because you can miss it. You could think like, and I'm like, bro, I've been with people who have been on big stages, and bro, and they kind of covet what I have with my wife and my children, and they don't have that. And I said, so don't miss it. Don't. The enemy will love to kind of lure you in a way of like, yo, you should be doing this, and you're avoiding discipling your little kids right now and watering your wife with the word, man. Yeah. So this is the big thing. It's not something else, man.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things I've been thinking about, because I like the formation stuff, is like I've been able to like notice there's a difference between feeding your ego and feeding your soul, and they feel like they're the same, but they're two different things. And I've noticed for myself, when I feed my ego, it leaves me wanting more. Yeah. When I feed my soul, it leaves me very thankful and content.
Wow, that's good.
It's like it's different, right? So it's like on the outside they may be the same thing.
Yeah.
But what it does internally is like when my ego is fed, I want more likes. I want more fame. I want more opportunities.
That's good.
Right? And I get busybody. I get in my flesh. But when I feed my soul, I feel so thankful. I feel so content. I feel so present. And on the outside, people don't know because it might be the same thing that results in two different inner realities.
For sure.
And so I think American culture, and I think the part of capitalism is this insatiable means to continue to get more opportunities to feed our egos. So people will say stuff like, hey, I got this job or I got this big opportunity. God is moving.
Yeah.
Instead of saying like, hey, I got fired. God is moving.
You
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because God could be moving actually more powerfully.
For real.
Right? Because he's removing things for your ego to get to deal with some things on a deeper level. You know
I got an example of that. I didn't know, like, writing my first book would flare out all these insecurities in me. I just didn't know that, like, so I have a passion for the Bible. I have a passion for Proverbs. I'm writing. But what are all these crazy insecurities? And then what happens is when you're insecure, you want to feed your ego.
Yeah, for sure.
So then marketing plan, but I'm not a marketer. I just want to disciple people. But now the insecurity tempts me. Oh, we could do this. We could do that. And I was listening to a podcast on people that self-publish books. And they say you have to determine your target audience. By determining one person you wrote the book for. I'm like, one? Determine the one person, take them to coffee. So then I took a 22-year-old kid to coffee that is spiritually interested, blah, 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 blah. And as we had that conversation, that lit a fire in me to this is the why, this is the port. So it's like, I don't care who it reaches, but my why is now locked in. And that coffee conversation fed my soul. And then it really helped delineate, well, that's just to put a Band-Aid over my insecurity. If it does this, I do that. I do that. No. Just deal with the insecurities and then just focus on why you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, y'all. It's a great episode.
Yes, sir.
Will, thanks for making the drive.
Always,
Appreciate everybody supporting the podcast for 2 years now. And for accountability, I promised the team at our 10,000 subscriber that I would have a dinner and a party for them at my house. And they keep... Most of all the original crew is here on the team, and so they keep bringing it up. And so they had brought up
10,000, bro.
Yeah, we were supposed to have
90,000 behind, dog.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it was 1,000 at first. It was 1,000. Yeah. I promised 1,000. We kind of. I think we hit that in probably like 60 days, 45 days, and then I was like, well, guys, that happened. Like that happened a little fast. Like, let's do 10,000, and then I think maybe in like March of February or that like 6 months later we hit 10,000. And I was like, all right, y'all, 100,000. And now they just keep bringing it up. They're like, hey, we're hitting the.
It's at 1 million, bro.
And it's not really a goal. It's just been more like we'll celebrate. We'll celebrate together and have fun. And then now they're on me and they're like, we hit 100,000. So I got to do it. So
Yeah, 1,000 came quick, huh?
1,000 did happen relatively fast.
I'm scanning the room. People are eating at your house. People are celebrating at your house.
Yeah, for sure. With or without me. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate y'all.
Peace.
Love you. Peace.